Hello, Dominic here. I'm the Festival Director of the Bournemouth Writing Festival, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you to Bournemouth on the 26th, 27th and 28th of April 2024. Now, we've got over 80 different writing events and activities happening over those 3 days, and some of them are actually going to be happening on the beach. We've got 7 miles of glorious sandy beaches here in Bournemouth, and we're going to take full advantage of it. So on Saturday, Chris Aziz will be doing writing on the beach, and this is a free activity for anybody to come along and be inspired by the sand between your toes or the sound of the waves crashing or the people that are enjoying the beach. And she will encourage you to write whatever you want and hang it on her giant washing line for everybody to see. Emma Scattergood will be doing the Creative Path, which will be a walking exercise along the beach as well. And then on Sunday, we have a children's activity called Word Wizards, and that's with Jane Labuse, and that's specifically for children. So we've got some stuff going on the beach. Take a look at the website, and when you come down, hopefully you'll be inspired by all the wonderful things we have here in Bournemouth. Now, amongst those 80 writing events, we have lots of talks. And one of those talks is with Paula Harmon. And she'll be talking about Know Your Place, which is a talk all about setting. Now, this will be happening on Sunday, the 28th of April at 10:30 at Pavilion Dance. Paula is an author of countless books, including the Margaret Demarest book series, of which I've actually read the first one here. She's also set up the first ever literary festival in Blandford. So Paula, welcome.
Hi. Nice to be here. Looking forward to it.
So you've written a lot of books, sometimes collaborating with other writers, and you started up the literary festival in Blandford. So tell us a little bit about you and your writing journey.
Okay, so my writing journey started when I was a little girl, like a lot of writers probably, that they're just fascinated by stories right from quite early on. And I think my very first story that I can remember writing was about the clangers, because I was a real clanger fan. But I didn't really get on with it. Life got in the way. I got a career, I got a family, all the rest of it. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I really got on with realizing my dream and starting to write books. So I had a lot of catching up to do. And actually the first book, I'll just show you just really quickly, the first 2 books that I sort of published were collections of short stories that I wrote, which were really a sort of an outpouring of all of that creative stuff that had been blocked up for years by a corporate job and all the rest of it. And from that, I met loads of great people. So this writing festival, I just say, encourage anybody who's a bit unsure, doesn't really know whether they are in the right place or they don't feel that they're there at the same level as anybody else. It really doesn't matter, because I've met some fantastic people in the writing community, and it has all been just through that trusting other people to accept me and finding that they did. And I've made some wonderful friends as a result. Like you said about collaboration, I ended up making a friend with somebody, and she got in touch with me and said, we both like the same sort of stories. We both interested in women's issues and so on and so forth. We both like historical fiction. Why don't we write a book together? And we did. And since then, we've written 2 series. One is Victorian and one is contemporary. They're both mysteries, and we've written them together. And maybe sometime we'll do a workshop on that for you, Dominic. Who knows? And then for my own, I then mostly carried on in the historical theme, and this is the one most recently out in the series that Dominic was talking about, which is set in Edwardian England. And also I've got one, this is set in a Roman imaginary version of Blandford, so in the Roman era.
And what you just said there about community, I think is really important, because what I found, through my own writing journey within Bournemouth and Dorset, is that there are so many writers out there, and you just don't know, because writing by definition is a lonely business, and we're all very isolated behind our laptops or pen and paper, and we very rarely get to connect. And what I found as an output or an outcome of the writing festival was that there's a, I suppose, a demand for connection and community and collaboration, and I really didn't see that happening, but it happened. And you know, and that's where the magic happens, I think, because, you know, when you are writing by yourself and you say, you know, you want to ask, you know, does that need a hyphen, or does this sentence make sense? You know, you don't know quite who to ask, but creating this writing community has enabled that to happen.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so your talk is called Know Your Place, which is about scene setting, isn't it? And your books, as you've just described, are very immersive in that you feel like you are in the era that is set in, and that's obviously so important for the books that you write in. So, you know, what insights can you share as to what you're going to be discussing in your talk?
Well, it's really because obviously some of my books are historical, some of them are contemporary. In my short stories, there are some that are just set, who knows where they are. They're sort of slightly fantasy stories. And, you know, I've had to dig deep into my imagination to find out, to create imaginary places. And then in relation to historical places, obviously I've had to do a bit of research, but I want them to come to life. I don't want somebody to sort of think they're wading through loads of description that is like an encyclopedia. I want them to sort of feel like they're in that street, they're in that room, they're, you know, in that situation, observing that thing. And of course, I haven't always, obviously, I haven't observed Edwardian London. I'm not quite that old. But, you know, there's certain things you can find out. So this will be about some of the techniques I've used to try and develop that, to find out what it is that I'm trying to describe, if I can't just sort of figure it out in my imagination, and then work out ways of making that come to life using all the senses that you've got, using pictures, using stuff on the internet. It's surprising how often you can, but also looking at what other people have done that has worked for me as a reader, because obviously I'm not just a writer, I'm a reader too. What's, oh, you know, I wish I was there. You know, this place has really come to life. I can see it in my head. To see how other people have done it too. And anybody who comes to talk, bring along what you've got, what you've written, what you've read, things that you can share with other people that you feel that do it for you, because obviously different things appeal to different people. It's really about trying to take the reader with you. And rather than just saying, you know, it was a grey day and it was wet and it was full of poor people or something like that, you know, you're trying to sort of make it come to life so that you think it's almost like you're walking down that street. That's my aim anyway, so that as a consequence the reader hopefully cares about the people in that scene. They're not just having it shown to them, it's something that they feel immersed in.
And, you know, I've read your book, and you do such a fantastic job of describing that, and you know, you really do feel immersed. And for me, it's the little things, it's a word here and a word there that makes you think, you know, you've done your research or you kind of immersed yourself fully into that era. Now, as you said, like, you weren't around in the Edwardian era, and you know, if you're writing sci-fi, you're not going to be on Planet Zog or wherever it might be. So how do you do it? How do you, you know, is it just imagination, or is it research? Like, what are the things that can immerse you as a writer into these worlds?
Well, obviously that's going to be partly what we explore and talk in the workshop, but yeah, it's a combination of those things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with imagining something completely. It's a bit like I suppose if it's Planet Zog, for example, it's a bit like being a child paints, where you're not worried about what anybody thinks, you just draw what's in your head. It's the same principle. Nobody's going to say to you, Planet Zog doesn't look like that, because Planet Zog doesn't exist. So, you know, you've got that freedom with that kind of thing. If it's something real, and that probably goes to contemporary to an extent. If you're writing about a contemporary town, you know roughly what that town looks like, so you can sort of impose what you like, but you can put the railway station where you want, you can put the shops where you like, and so on. If it's something historical, you can do that to an extent if it's in a fictional place, but if it's a real place, you've got to be careful about what you do. But there are so many resources to find that, and it's really about combining, like I said, the factual dry stuff with a bit of imagination to make it feel like it's real, and not having obviously reams of, you know, stuff. The other thing is describing things you have no experience of, and like things like how to deal with somebody who's attacking you, you know, how to fight in a corset, all of those sorts of things. How do you find out how to do that? I think my husband was a bit confused once when I said to him, can you try and sort of like restrain my arm behind my back so I can see if I can get out of it? I was just cooking dinner, what are you talking about? But it's little things like, you know, where can you find out that information where you don't know, and then how do you turn what you've seen into what you write?
Okay, wonderful. And what takeaways do you think people will, you know, so with it, once they've been to your talk and they think, right, I've got all of these techniques, what do you want writers to do once they've left?
Well, obviously write, practice, but also I hope that they take away some maybe new ideas that they hadn't thought about, or confidence that they could try something they hadn't tried before, and hopefully, like you've said, that they've got people within a community, they've got the confidence to ask other people's their opinions. They don't, you know, if you're not an experienced writer or don't feel like you're experienced, that you feel safe, you're in a safe space, because this is the safe space, and that you're not afraid to try, because nobody is going to say that's no good at all ever. And it's just knowing how to develop what you've got, because you know you're interested, so you've got a skill already. So that's what I hope: friendship and skills, and an encouragement to keep trying.
Wonderful. Well, Paula, you presented at last year's writing festival, Women in Historical Fiction, wasn't it? So and so really excited to see you again. So Paula Harmon, her talk is called Know Your Place, and that's on Sunday the 28th of April at 10:30, and that's going to be at the Pavilion Dance. So Paula, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank
you very much. We're looking forward to it.
Great. And I'll see everybody else at the Writing Festival on the 26th, 27th and 28th of April in Bournemouth Town Centre. Bye-bye.